Chapter 20. It was a late afternoon. There had been one or two minor setbacks, but Clooney and his squad had finally made it up into the elm tree. Some of the raps were hopeless climbers in Clooney's estimation. There was quite a bit of jostling and slipping. As for the idiot cheese thief, imagine waiting until you're 6 yards above the ground to find out that you're afraid and have no head for heights. Clooney thought angrily that if it hadn't been for such urgent need for silence, he would have given him what for. The warlord began to wish they had brought along more ferrets and weasels. They possessed great natural climbing abilities, and that weasel, what was his name? Scrag. He'd been even organizing the lifting of the plank. Clooney made a mental note for future references. Officer material, that one. Despite all efforts, however, they were still below the edge of the parapet. Higher up, the elm branches became thin and whippy, not strong enough to support the plank's weight. Clooney took stock of the situation. It was really as far as he could go without retaining some kind of safety factor on their hazardous assignment. He decided to call a halt. Right, take a breather. Find somewhere that you won't fall from. In an hour or two, it'll be evening. There'll be lots of shadows and less daylight. The mice will have slowed up a bit by then. We'll catch them off guard. Scrag, see a lot, keep still and quiet, will you? Scrag saluted smartly and offered a helpful comment. This branch I'm sitting on, Chief, I've been testing it and it feels good and strong. Maybe we should mount the plank here for the wall. It's a reach easy enough. I know it's a bit of an uphill climb, but it shouldn't be too difficult. I don't fancy these branches higher up. They're too thin. Clooney climbed across and sat next to Scrag. He spoke in a whisper. Good thinking, Weasel. Yes, this branch'll do. Fine. Stick by me, Scrag. You'll be a useful soldier. With some, look out for a new captain soon. You know what that means. Extra loot, bigger share of the plunder. Clooney always rewards initiative, Scrag. Play your cards right and you'll soon get the promotion. Thanks, Chief. Don't worry. I won't let you down, Scrag murmured. On the branch lower, Cheese Thief, who had been eavesdropping on the conversation, sneered inwardly. Yes, Chief. No, Chief. 3 bags full, Chief. Who did the snooty weasel think he was? And as for Clooney's promoting a weasel to the captain over rats of his own kind, well, Redtooth and Darkclaw and the others might have something to say about that. Upstart weasel. He'd only joined up a day or two ago. If he got half the chance, Cheese Thief would fix Scrag all right. Abbot Mortimer looked thankfully at the sky. Evening had come. They had lost it out well. The rats had not breached the wall in any way. Most of the main fighting had gone out into the wall. Clooney's horde was only making spasmodic sallies from the ditch below. Taking the advantage of the interval, the defenders hauled up more rocks and rubble into the ramparts. Cornflower and his band of helpers were on the top of the wall, keeping their heads low. They moved from post to post, serving each creature with a bowl of stew, some wild grapes, and a small loaf of honeyed nut bread. What a calm, efficient young mouse Cornflower is, the abbot remarked to Constance. The badger passed a bundle of arrows to the Ambrose Spike for distribution as she replied, Aye, that she is, Father Abbot, but she looks worried. Matthias, do you think? Doubtless, said the abbot dryly. That young mouse is on my mind as well as hers and yours. Constance shook her large head, striped head. I'm not like Matthias to go off like that. I've searched everywhere in my spare moments. He's not in the abbey. Well, wherever he is, I'm certain that he's helping our cause. So we'll just have to await his return and trust in Matthias's judgment and good sense. The two friends thankfully accepted food from Cornflower and her helpers. Both watched mystified as Winifred the Otter and Formal hoisted and pulled a seesaw into view. It was a plaything, made in the distant past for the use of infant woodlanders. It had lain near the strawberry patch for as long as anyone could remember. Baby animals played on it throughout the years. As a seesaw, it was in perfect working order. Winifred and Formal sat it down on the parapet. Bent double, the two moles staggered up, carrying between them an enormous rock. Formal indicated the opposite end of the seesaw. Aye, put her on there. That's no bowler, me beauties. The word bowler when the bowler was in position, Winifred and Formal hugged each other tightly. With a nod, they jumped together and heavily on the near seat. Whoosh! The big rock catapulted over the top of the parapet. Several seconds of silence followed. Then there was a crash, accompanied by screams of pain and shock from the rats packed into the ditch below. Winifred and Formal gravely shook paws. "Oi reckon that be pesky vermin's got ye headache," chuckled Formal as everybody on the rapids ran to seek cover from the retaliatory missiles hurled by Clooney's horde. The battle had started again in earnest. Mouse archers sprang up and loosed their shafts down towards the ditch. Otters, sling throwers, whipped hard pebbles off with fierce rapidity. Long rat javelins flew upwards, causing death and injury in the rank of the defenders. But now there was a new hazard. Some inventive rats had devised a fearsome weapon. Chunks of iron grave railing from the churchyard strung to a length of cord. The rats would swing the cords round and round, gaining momentum until, judging the right direction, they loosed the cord. The missiles sped upwards, 2 or 3 times higher than the wall, almost out of sight. Then they burst, plummeting downwards, whistling viciously, to burst on the ramparts. Any defender struck by the missile was instantly killed or horribly maimed. Even if the iron missed its target, the stones and shattered metal fragments ricocheted about dangerously. Realizing the danger of this new device, Constance ordered all but a few chosen to leave the wall for the safety of to be a two-edged weapon. Safety of the abbey grounds. However, the strung iron beds soon proved to be a two-edged weapon. Many of them, released wrongly, came hurtling down back into the ditch, sometimes slaying the very creature that had hurled them. Even Redtooth and Clooney's armor, guarding the standard in the meadows, had to make an undignified scurry to avoid being hit. But he could see the demoralizing effect the missiles were having on the defenders, so he ordered the throwers to continue. Constance bravely stood her ground in the parapet. As she did, her small band of picked fighters. Whenever one of the missiles landed intact on the rubble pile, she'd seize it, standing in full view. As she rolled the corded iron round and released it in a blur of speed. Constance was a more powerful and accurate thrower than any rat. The attackers bared angry fangs at her from the cover of the ditch. Of all the Redwall defenders, the big badger was the one they most hated and feared. Seated in the branches of the elm tree in the north wall of the abbey, Clooney watched the shadows lengthen. To the west, the sky was crimson with sunset. Soon he would raise the plank to the parapet. They would let them beware. No tin-pot order of mice was going to stand against the might of Clooney's scourge. Methuselah, the gatehouse keeper, stood faced on the damaged tapestry of the great wall of Redwall. Being too old for active battle service, he reasoned that the best way he could serve his order was by putting his fertile brain to work. Somewhere he had at least a clue, a single lead that might tell him where the resting place of Martin the warrior could be found, or what he could regain possession of the ancient sword of his abbey. But where? Even now and then over the years, Methuselah had searched through Redwall for Martin and his sword. Now he stepped up his questioning activities. Alas, with no success. Virtual clues and answers still eluded him. What he needed was a younger, fresher mind to assist him. What a pity that Matthias could not be found. Now there was a young mouse with a head on his shoulders. For long years and much mental strain, he had taken a toll on the ancient mouse. Wearily he swayed on his feet, and putting out a pole to steady himself, he touched the wall, the exact patch of stone over which Martin's likeness was once hung. Methuselah gave a sigh of satisfaction, allowing a small smile to creep across his features. He searched, but it had not been in vain. Beneath his paw there was writing carved into the dust-covered wall.